once again to the Noise Report, episode 4. We are your gracious, beautiful, stunning hosts, Trey Graciomi.
You don't need to lie to them.
We are your subpar, just about average hosts, Trey Graciomi.
And Justin Horn.
Last week, we recommended 2 albums that we're going to be listening to this week. And at the end of this podcast, we'll be recommending 2 more to check out next week. So if you want to get in on that, check that shit out at the end of the podcast.
It'll be Lydia as a titty, my dude.
The littiest, tittiest. And let's start out
Right,
with
so,
what album you want to start with?
well, I don't know. We've got 2. You want to settle it with a coin? I don't have a coin.
I don't have a coin, so let's do Mr. Bungle.
Oh. All right. Okay. So, Mr. Bungle is an experimental music collective, or was an experimental music collective. It's basically the side project of, at the time, Faith No More, and I suppose he is back at it again. Faith No More vocalist Mike Patton. And this is their second studio album after a string of demos and one previous studio album. And it's titled Disco Volante. It's a it's a something.
Experimental is the best word I could put onto this.
It's certainly that. So track 1, we'll start out there, is titled Everyone I Went to High School With Is Dead. First of all, killer name. I can really appreciate that.
Can't wait for that to happen to me.
That's me, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so this is like a sludgy, bass-driven opener intro song, and the vocals are like basically just chants in the background.
You can barely understand them.
Yeah,
I didn't know what they were saying until I looked up the lyrics. And then when I saw the lyrics, I was like, holy shit. It's kind of dark.
That's a thing that happened. Wow. Okay then, Bungle, you're starting to sound a bit less like a clown, more like a killer. But I say the same thing, really. So,
things I have written about this is like, it's incredibly original. I don't think I've heard much stuff like this. It's off the walls and unstoppable were the things I thought about this song when I first listened to it. It was wild.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was expecting going into this, and it really fucking left me on the edge of my seat. Like, what the fuck is the rest of this album gonna sound like after this?
Yeah, and like the bass riffing all over this song is really just kind of, it very much carries the track. It's very meaty, it's very wild, and it's very, the tempos and time signatures are really all over the place. Like, I was listening to it and it was like, okay, that's a clear 1, 2, 3. Okay, now this is like probably 7/4 here. I don't know what's happening. What is happening? There's people chanting in the background. There's panic happening. I don't know what's going on. So yeah, this is pretty much the perfect starter for this album, as it really gets you going into that aspect of what the hell is happening right now, which is a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
Describe the sensations going on here.
And then it leads into track number 2, Chemical Marriage. And after hearing the first song, the first thing written down, first thing I said was, what? With a huge smile on my face, because I could not fucking understand why they went from Everyone I Went to High School With Is Dead to like this fucking folk jam.
It's like ba ba boo ba da ba.
And I physically said what out loud because I just could not comprehend why it switched like that. I love the electric organ in this and like the general upbeat vibe that it has, even though it's still kind of haunting. One thing I said is because I like to relate my songs to certain scenarios and emotions. The thing I said is like it's a carnival that's been run down for years, but you go back and the music is playing still for some reason, and like it's there, but there's just some kind of distant haunting that's going on, and that's what I felt with this. I loved it. It was super cool.
Yeah, this is like a combination of carnival music and like lounge jazz. That's kind of how I felt. Like a little bit free jazzy in there and jazz fusion.
Yeah.
Especially with a lot of the bass lines. And It's just a wild and crazy song.
Yeah,
Like
this is actually one of my favorite songs on the whole thing.
yeah, and there's no actual lyrics. It's just a lot of use of onomatopoeia and stuff like that. One thing of note on the track is that the ending of the song is just complete cacophony. Like there's just a billion sounds cluttered together that are just, where did they come from? What are they doing here?
That's a lot of this album.
Honestly. I mean, it comes off really cool, but like, what the hell is going on? That's a common thread. Speaking of what the hell is going on, we're moving on to track 3 now, which is my favorite track on the album.
Really?
Yeah, Carrie's Stress in the Jaw / Secret Song. Technically, it's 2 separate songs, but a little backstory on this one.
Oh, yeah.
A little backstory. Their I want to say it's their bassist found this track as like an unfinished thing before, like the second part, Secret Song.
I saw the name Trevor, so I wrote that down. I'm not sure which section of the band that was, but Trevor is the one who found the band, the recording of this song and added
the weird ass
whatever the fuck that
old man
is.
vocals. And threw it at the end of Carry Stress in the Jaw. And really, I should say Carry Stress in the Jaw is probably my favorite track on the album. Secret Song is just like a little bit of what the fuck thrown in there.
A little bit of the cherry on top.
So anyway, Carry Stress in the Jaw, it like opens with some nice little jazzy saxophone.
I actually have intro feels like an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Yeah, a little bit.
I wrote down.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then it hits with that incredible sax interlude that just fucking blew my mind. I was like, yo, this guy can jam.
Yeah, and they absolutely just nail it on this the sax, and it reaches a point where the sax just kind of goes off the rails a little bit, and then immediately after it goes off the rails a little bit, it goes from being like this kind of like lounge sounding, like really chill kind of
laid back jam.
Yeah, laid back jam, to just being absolutely one of the most true renditions of like 90s death metal I've heard in a long time. And it's just out of nowhere, signaled by like an alto saxophone going nuts. And then in between these crazy, chunky, thrashy death metal guitar riffs, there's just like the saxophone occasionally breaking in and Mike Patton just going absolutely wild on the microphone. I don't even know like what happened. What led to this track being created? I need to know.
I don't know how these guys thought of literally any of these songs. It's so unbelievably wild. I can't even put anything to it. Something I have it written down that it's constantly changing. Really hard to follow, but not in a bad way. It's just always doing something new, and it's like really fucking like trying to grab you every couple seconds. Just like, fucking listen to me, bitch. And it's like, I am.
I'm really trying. I feel like you could listen to this track like 20 times and still not pick up on everything.
Yeah. Something else I had about this was a lot of the songs for me is the vocal parts are really, I don't want to say bad. They're not bad. They're lackluster.
They're lackluster on purpose.
Yeah, no. I can definitely tell he's not trying his fucking heart out.
Yeah, like you can tell on later songs where the vocals he's clearly a very talented singer, and he's just not giving a shit.
Yeah, no. There's like the interlude part where he's just doing spoken word kinda to the melody, and it's of like Poe quotes about fucking teeth or some shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about falling out teeth in this album. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does that, and I literally was sitting there like, what the fuck is he talking about? Sounds bad. Stop. But then it just keeps going, and I'm like, well, I mean, I guess he's on this track. Might as well sit with it. And then you get to the secret song.
Secret song is so goofy. It's so goofy. So it's kind of like a groovy little surf rocky almost sounding song. And then there's just like this really bad old man impression that just comes in. It's like,
they wrote the song without me.
Yeah. And
I'm angry about it.
Yeah, like I have a direct writing in here. there's this one point where there's like wah wah wahs that come in, and then after these wah wah wahs, you just hear this old man impression go, "God damn it, I'm pissed off," and it's just so funny. It's not a comedy album, but it really could have been if they just tweaked it a little bit.
I have the secret song as a fucking jam.
It's really jamming. It's really jamming. And then the track kind of closes out with like tribalish sounding drums and just somebody going on the spoons, and the old man is like dying or something. I don't know what's happening, but I'm glad it is.
It was wild from start to finish. There was no cohesion there.
It's like controlled chaos.
Yeah. Someone else's controlled chaos. Song 4, Desert Search for Techno Allah.
This is also one of my favorite songs.
I love this song.
This song is an absolute jam. And this is the only song that I had actually known on the album before coming into this week to actually review it.
It has a super hard Middle Eastern vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Understandably being called Techno Allah.
Yeah.
You hit that sitar, it's jamming, and then I have written down in all caps, that electro bass starts hits so hard that I have really nice studio headphones, and when that hit me, I like ear nutted. It was fucking gnarly.
It's like Slavic hard bass meets Iran,
and
something like that.
I like how the bass didn't just stay on that epic grindy electro bass too. It even switched to that moogie wow 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 kind of bass too. So it wasn't all just super repetitive the whole time. That was super good.
Yeah, there's even some glitch parts in the track at around like 3 minutes ish, and
this is like a super electro song, which I was not expecting off this album.
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere, much like a lot of things on this album.
Oh yeah,
and really, this is probably one of the most consistent and accessible tracks. Like, this is something that you could just show to a fan of like electro or Middle Eastern music, and they'd probably be able to jam to it.
Show this to most people, and they'd be able to be like, "Oh yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
I could dig that." The percussion work in this song is actually really good too.
Yeah,
it has a lot of I think they use timpani a lot in this whole album, but they use it like really well here, and just like nice like the on fucking not bongos. I can't remember what they're fucking called. It's just nice percussion work. Super good. Love this song.
Yeah, probably my second favorite song on the album. So track number 5 is a track that I cannot tell if I love or I hate.
I lean towards I don't like this song very much. It has a really cool concept to it.
Yeah, its structure is very interesting, and that's why I find
I can dig it as like a musical idea. I just don't think I like it in practice.
Yeah, so track 5 is called Violenza Domestica, which is Italian for domestic violence.
Wow.
The entire song is in Italian, all of it.
It's described as an off-kilter tango.
Yeah.
Which was, I guess, probably the best way you could put it.
Yeah, and really, to me, it almost felt like a made-for-TV drama.
Do you know what? Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up about a lot of these songs, actually, is that they feel like they should be put into like a movie score if they weren't so fucking insanely wild. A lot of these songs like have a structure that's like it's telling a story, but it's obviously not telling a story. The dudes they're all just going ham, but like they all feel like that, especially later on in the album. There's like 2 songs that really give this off, and this is probably the first one that does it too. Is like it feels like it should be a part of a TV show or movie score, but it's not, because you wouldn't ever probably want to hear this on a movie score.
The way that I described this to one of my family members actually is that it's like they attempted to make a play, and instead of using visuals, they tried to put everything that would make the play what it is into the song. So it's entirely it's like a visual experience that has been changed into an audio-only experience.
That's a good way to put it. I can agree with that.
And like a lot of the instrumentation makes use of a lot of drama themes and theatrical crazy shit. One thing that I don't really care for is the translation of the lyrics, because obviously I don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
The lyrics are really, really, really fucked up. I don't know if you
I did not translate them.
Okay, so essentially it's like emotional manipulation.
I know that the concept of it is it's like the abuser's point of view
Yeah.
of an abusive relationship, and I don't know what part it is, but the like the part where he's like, "Ascolta," and you're like, "Oh, I can hear your fucking everything in your mouth." Like, I don't know what "ascolta" means, but it's really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
And I don't even need to have the translation to know that something fucked up is happening.
Yeah, and
Please
then,
give me the translation if you have it. Though.
I don't have all of it on me. The main thing that I do have is at the end of the track when he's yelling the Mia part or whatever. Essentially, that whole bit before that is your language or your voice, basically the same thing, is mine, 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 mine. Mia is mine.
Okay.
And that's just really fucked up to me. Like, ugh.
I do like the instrumentation in this song.
Yeah.
Like they even went and apparently got a dude from a fucking like orchestral play thing to play a bandian for them. Like, that's wild, dude. That's pretty neat.
That's going the extra mile.
But everything else about the song, especially that ascolta part, like, I did not need to hear that. My ears did not need to be violated like that. And I guess it really does fit with the song, but keep it to the song. I don't want it in my ears, dude. You could hear so much stuff in that man's mouth. That mic was so sensitive. Too much for me.
So number 6 is After School Special.
I like this song. It's cute.
I also like this song.
It's not great.
It like the vocals are intentionally really childish sounding.
I think it's because it's about the kid. Like,
yeah.
It's supposed to be a kid, quote unquote, saying all this.
Yeah, and it's from this perspective of this kid who apparently has an abusive father.
Yep.
And he is slightly proud of his mom, but as revealed later on, he's also kind of upset with the whole situation.
Yeah, I have written down that he knows his mom is lying just to make him feel better about the fact that his dad is abusing him.
Yeah,
because you can't do anything about it. That's pretty. I don't have much written about this song because it is fairly short, but I do think that it comes off pretty strong emotionally.
Yeah, I would agree.
There's some lyric parts that really sound fucking deep. Or not sound deep, but like they feel deep.
Yeah, they feel like they would resonate with somebody that comes from an abusive household.
Yeah.
Like she cooks, she cleans, she lies, she says I'm handsome.
Yeah.
So I almost think that this might be like making fun of grunge music, because this album came out in 95, which is kind of around the same time grunge was pretty popular, and a lot of grunge music is like, oh, my life is shit. I hate my parents.
Fuck you, Mom.
And one other thing of note is that it ends with this really fucked up, pitched up sample.
Oh, I hate that, by the way.
Yeah, it was just so really unsettling to me. I don't know what it was, but it made me feel deeply uncomfortable.
I have a really hard time with high-pitched frequencies. They like physically hurt me. So when that came on, I like took my headphones off. I was like, don't fucking do that to me, dude. I don't deserve this shit. I have to listen to your album. Don't hurt me. Speaking of hurting me, song 7, Phlegmatics.
Phlegmatics, yeah.
This is another song about losing teeth. Fun fact. Apparently this guy must have a lot of nightmares about losing his teeth, because this is apparently the 3rd song written about it. One wasn't actually in this album. Apparently it's from like their first debut EP thing. That was just a random song in there that was just about losing your fucking teeth.
Look, man, sometimes you just gotta lose them, you know what I'm saying? Also, Phlegmatics is somebody that's dependable, so maybe that's just a dependable song topic. writing shit about losing your teeth.
It's his go-to. Some stuff I. Sorry, I just realized I had my own typo here where I wrote clarinet as clarinet. Other than that, the song starts off super fucking jamming.
Oh yeah, it's
and then it goes really creepy.
Yeah,
and then it's kind of a mix of the creepy and the jamming, and it wasn't a bad feeling. I kind of like the jamming part a bit more than the creepy part, but then again, the song is about losing your teeth, so I wouldn't expect it to be happy-go-lucky the whole time.
Yeah. And there's also a bit with clarinet and oboe, as you said, clarinet.
Nice clarinet.
Which is actually pretty cool. I like seeing more traditional reed instruments on. I suppose this would be like an experimental rock album.
This is experimental rock, I think.
Yeah.
That's the best I could put it. I can never understand the lyrics in like half these songs, though.
Yeah, the vocal mixing is pretty poor, but I think
I can't tell if they're. It must be on purpose because the last song on the album.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
we'll get there
the last song
there.
on the album really kind of puts all the others to shame vocals wise.
Yeah.
One thing to note about the vocals on this track is that they're done atonally. They're on pitch, but they just jump around the chromatic scale like, who gives a shit? I do what I want, which I suppose kind of follows the theme of the album.
That's this whole album, dude.
Speaking of who gives a shit, I do what I want. Track 8.
What the fuck is this song, Justin?
So this is another one of the songs that I really like on the album.
Mamishka mo shkaz. Mamishka mo squaz. Fuck this song, Justin.
Okay, so it starts with organs, and I have in my notes, directly in my notes, vocals are ... What the fuck?
I have incomprehensible words, lyrics. What the actual fuck?
Noises.
The amount of sampling in this song, aside from just the whatever the fuck the vocals are, is just super uncanny and wild. It's like one of those ones where they just literally throw anything they want in there, and even with the instrumentation, which they even add, like, I like the xylophone part.
Oh yeah, it's like
halfway through.
It's like xylophone and saxophone, and then it cuts back to the original thing, and then cuts back to xylophone and
then the dude's fucking the whole time. He's like, and you're like, what the fuck?
Please.
Apparently, the singer got really mad in the recording of this song because he just couldn't get it because the words are so hard to say. I'm like, I would be pretty fucking mad too, not gonna lie.
Yeah. And then about 3 minutes into the track, after going through all of these previous transitional phases, there's like this weird bassy, synthy, electronic thing that happens that almost sounds like you're getting like the sound effect people use for like alien abduction.
Yeah, like a sci-fi fucking not like that.
And then it just like cuts to like Middle Eastern styled rock after that, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I don't know what's going on. You need to slow it down so my feeble fucking brain can process.
Dude, it's Mamishka most squaz, dude. You can't question it. And I'm going to question it. Why? Why?
I mean, honestly, the song at least ends somewhat cohesively.
True.
Somewhat. It goes to like an almost regular rock sound with like organ on top, and the bassist just goes fucking hard.
Bassist really pops off on some of these songs.
He pops off real hard. And then it just ends with panicked shouting from Mike Patton. I'm assuming out of the anger.
Probably, I wouldn't doubt it. Moving on to probably the most interesting song on this album, track 9, The Bends.
I am inclined to agree with you. This track is a bit of a struggle for me because I don't know whether I love it or hate it.
I have the exact same opinion. I have written down, what an incredibly strange song? ? Where it's completely put into parts to tell a story without telling an actual story, and it's supposedly about a diver.
Yes, which is why it's called The Bends.
Who is drowning or something.
The Bends. Okay, so
I know what the Bends are.
Yeah, so that's That's basically what it's about. It's about a diver getting the bends. So I don't know why part 2 is called the drowning flute though, because that doesn't really make sense as he's clearly still alive.
Yeah, he's alive throughout this whole thing.
So
there's 10 parts to this song.
Yeah,
all about around from like 40 seconds to just over a minute, I think.
Yeah, the shortest of which is part 4, which is Follow the Bubbles. It's 14 seconds on that one. But this track is very interesting in that it's almost like a miniature symphony.
Yeah,
I guess
that's a really good way to put it. It's kind of sometimes a sensory overload of a symphony, but
certainly, like there are some
especially
parts...
towards the end, like Screaming Bends and Panic and Blue, I believe, are like just like maybe it's nerve damage. They kind of
they really bleed together. Really,
there's one specific one that's actually just like screeching in your ear. And you're like, ooh.
That's I want to say that was the end of Re-Entry.
Yeah, towards the end of the whole thing. It just
kept building and building, and I'm like, okay, you can stop now.
Yeah, please.
So I'd say that this track is actually less enjoyable to look at it as individual parts and more enjoyable just to listen to the whole thing. And just
you have to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, like listening to it, like trying to pause at each individual part breaks, you're just going to feel like this is a very tedious and pointless track. Whereas if you listen to it all the way through in one big chunk and just try and absorb it as a singular piece rather than as each of the individual parts, you're going to find this to be much more enjoyable, but still a very difficult to digest situation.
There's a reason why I can't really remember the specifics of each part is because I only listened to it as a whole, and I wasn't really perfectly keeping track of every single individual section. Though, speaking of individual sections, my favorite of the 10 was Aqua Swing.
Aqua Swing was pretty cool.
That was a pretty fucking jamming.
It's a pretty jamming thing, and it's what the name implies. It's like swing music.
It's literally just like a swing music, and it kind of feels like underwater.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it's supposed to be like Man Overboard is the first one, and then it's like the drowning flute, and then it's like a whole flute thing, and you can tell like the story supposedly this dude is drowning, and then Aqua Swing is probably him feeling like he's losing consciousness underneath the ground, and you're just like, you're in a state of kind of happiness. It's like, yeah,
swinging, good times.
And then Duet for Guitar and Oxygen Tank was one of the other ones that I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
not really,
it was
not incredible, but I kind of liked the concept of it, of like the beep beep beep, and then there's like a fucking guitar playing along with it. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and that's probably my favorite name out of the parts.
Duet for Guitar and Oxygen Tank. Yeah, it's really cool. Cool concept, cool sounding, I guess.
Yeah, like
not really what I'd expect out of an album.
I feel like I'd have to listen to it like at least 5 more times to really get a real opinion on it. And I've already listened to this album like 4 times.
I'd probably want to listen to this. If I want to listen to this track of the Bends specifically, if it was a part of like a short film.
Yeah, I feel like
it'd work really well with visuals attached.
I would agree.
But track number 10.
Track number 10 is Backstroking.
I saw some fan theories about how this is actually just a continuation of the last song where the dude survives and is swimming back to shore. I can kind of see it, but I like to imagine it as its own song.
Me too.
That's just about jacking off.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And I really like the instrumental on this track.
Yeah, I love the vibe.
It's super like chill and laid back and groovy, very 60s sounding.
Yeah, the synth and piano play really well together in this song.
Yeah, the only weird thing is that there's like Patton's vocals are just like way in the background in the mix in some points, and he's just like,
yeah.
Which I think again works with the theme of
jacking off,
as Patton puts it himself at the very end of the track, stroking my fucking dick.
I wish that the ending part might have been sung a little bit, because having some dude just say that to me really creeped me out.
Not really much else to report on this one, especially given
it's a pretty short one too.
Yeah, it's only about 2 minutes.
Literally, you just listen to it to hear the dude at the end be like, shitting, pissing, or whatever the fuck.
Jack is stroking my fucking dick.
I love it.
Track 11.
Platypus.
I love this track. I I really, really like Platypus. It's
I am highly indifferent.
so the thing that I don't like about Platypus are the platypus vocals.
I hate the vocals in general on this song, honestly. I don't like them at all. I think the bass goes really hard.
Oh yeah.
It starts off with like just a hard bass just fucking jamming.
Yeah, and
that's
that's one thing that I actually do enjoy. The thing that I enjoy the most about the track is the instrumental.
Yeah.
The instrumental performance on this track is phenomenal, and the vocals kind of let it down.
I think the vocals actually ruin the song for me.
The lyrics, however, are pretty lit in my opinion, as it just it's literally just about the platypus.
Yeah, it's platypus facts.
It's basically platypus facts 101. And it covers everything from like their initial discovery and like, oh, they've got a duck bill and a beaver tail and they lay eggs and all this other shit.
The first line of the song is literally their scientific name.
Yeah, it's like, and it's spoken by what I'm guessing is supposed to be interpreted as the platypus, because it's like this really kind of up pitch shifted thing. It's kind of annoying, but also kind of endearing. It almost reminds me of like a kid's cartoon.
My biggest comments on this are, I love it when it actually goes like fucking hard.
Oh
and,
yeah,
like, it just starts jamming and you're sitting there, you're like jamming, you're bobbing your head, you're like fuck yeah. And I kind of wish it would have done that more, because it would do it for like a couple bars and then stop and go back to whatever the heck the lyrics were or the vocals. And the only other thing I have is some of the vocal parts were really off-putting and I didn't enjoy them. But I guess that can be put to style, which I did not enjoy.
All right. So track 12 is Merry Go Bye Bye.
I love this song.
Yeah.
This is my favorite song on the album.
This is a really kick-ass jam. And it's structured in a way that makes a little more sense than most of the other tracks on the album.
This is the most vocally standard song.
Oh yeah.
Out of any of them. It's super fun, and the entire beginning half has like a super summer beach vibe to it.
It like you just feel like you're combing the beach, walking around like having a great time.
I feel like I'm about to go like surf some gnarly waves, dude. Oh.
Yeah, dude.
But and then about halfway through, it just completely changes and it goes into like a heavy fucking rock jam, and the drums just go off, and I love it. I loved it when the drums just like started going off.
It just straight up pops off at like 1:30ish, and then goes really, really hard until around 2:20, when it cuts to like a little bit of an interlude, not too long, and then it cuts back to the hard shit, and then it cuts to like what sounds like a wedding almost,
I guess,
and like. This is when Patton's clean vocals really kind of shine on the track and really go to show that he's not giving a shit on any of the other tracks, because he just absolutely knocks it out of the park.
The ending of this song is my favorite part of this entire album.
Yeah.
This literally, I mean, I'm not going to knock the rest of the album, but if the whole album had been more like this song, I think I would have enjoyed it a shitload more, as like enjoying it as music instead of as an experience.
Yes.
I think. I love Merry Go Bye Bye. The lyrics are freaking cool. The how he sings it is super cool. The instrumentaling, wow, instrumentals are super good, and all around it's just a good jam.
Yeah, it's a pretty kick-ass song.
And then apparently there's supposed to be like 6 minutes of like
silence, and then like a weird little song titled originally Nothing, but we don't.
I didn't listen to it. I didn't care about that too much.
Yeah.
It was just some.
It was basically pulling a prank on some of the other band members.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you guys didn't have any songwriting credits, so we're gonna give you a song titled Nothing, as in you guys wrote fucking nothing, you lazy
you just
bastards.
Sit there and play your instruments for a little bit, and then whatever, the song's over. Overall, I gave this a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I think it's incredibly original. It has spectacular instrumentalism, but the things that really got me are the fact that I just could not grasp it. The concept or the vocals or the lyrics. There were sensory overloads where it's just like fucking actually hurt me to listen to. And a lot of the times the vocals just annoyed me more than I could enjoy them, especially when I couldn't even hear them. That was pretty rough, especially in Platypus. There are times where he just speaks so quietly and so fast that you have no idea what the fuck he's saying. But all in all, it's a really fun listen. I think that's my biggest point, is that it's not really musically insane, but it's a good thing to listen to have that fucking... I think if I would have listened to this with you, it would have been a lot more fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We would have been fucking laughing up a storm, jamming. But by myself, I think it was a good experience. Not something I'd probably come back to very often to fucking party.
Yeah, no, there's... With the exception of Merry Go Bye Bye,
except for that one. That one I'd fucking jam
and like
anytime.
Desert Search for Techno Allah. Not
Also
many of these tracks.
anytime.
Not many of these tracks are tracks you want to like bring out to a party. Like, hey guys, let's listen to Platypus by Mr. Bungle. Hell yeah!
I think I'd actually kick you out of my house.
For my conclusion for this album, as you can see here, it literally just says "what the fuck" out of 10.
He does have that written down.
So I don't actually really know how to quantify this. I can't tell if I'm absolutely in love with the concepts and themes explored on this, or if this is just confusing blasphemy. I mean, it's definitely a very chin stroking piece if you're like very interested in...
I applaud it for what it tries to do.
Yeah. Like if you're very interested in experimental music and people really, really pushing the boundaries, this is going to be an album that you'll enjoy, as they really, really push the boundaries. They absolutely destroy the boundaries.
There is no boundaries
your expectations.
In this song.
Yeah, like any sort of expectations you might have had coming into this album, throw them away because they aren't real. They aren't real. Fuck your expectations.
You're not
We're
real.
gonna listen to Platypus now. So overall, like I'd say most of the time the instrumentations really carry this album.
Oh yeah, I love the instruments more than I love the vocals, which is weird for me because I typically love the vocals and then the instruments come second to me. But this time, instruments really took it off.
You can tell that they're very skilled musicians, just trying to absolutely lambast everybody's thoughts. Like, oh, what's this? You had thoughts about conventional music? Fuck yourself.
You wanted a song structure?
No.
The fuck is that?
Get the hell out of here with that shit.
Get out of my home. Leave.
This is only avant-garde shit. So I'm probably leaning somewhere like it depends on the day for me for the score on this one. If I'm really just wanting to kick out some jams, this one's probably like a 6. But if I really want to like, yes, this is very interesting, it's probably like close to a 9 or like an 8.5 or something like that.
Yeah. For me, anything above a 5 is worth listening to, at least. And the higher above 5, the more I'd suggest listening to it. If it's below 5, it means don't even waste your time on this unless you want to have a bad time. So being a 6.5 for me means it's still worth listening to, but it's not worth listening to consistently and constantly bringing it up to other people. Like, you fucking love that banger, the one where my high school friends are all dead. Oh yeah,
that was fucking kick ass, brother.
So all in all, good album. Little weird. Take the back. Really weird.
Yeah, a lot of weird. That's mostly weird, I would say. Weird album. Really weird. All right, so...
And moving on to something completely different.
This is like a Monty Python transition here. So Run with the Hunted is a Skyhill album. The only Skyhill album, in fact.
It is the only album ever recorded and produced by Daniel Avedon and Peter Lennox. Dan moved on to NSP, and I don't know if Peter Lennox moved on to anything greater, but he did pretty well on this album, not gonna lie. Peter did all of the instrumentation, and Dan did vocals.
Yes.
This was released in 2007. I think I said 2003 last week. That was just me fucking up. And it's like an electronica rock album.
Yeah, like an ambient rock almost.
Yeah.
So track 1 is titled "Hands on the Water." This is a really good starter to the album, in my opinion. I think it really introduces you to what the album's about and what to expect.
It gives off the general focus that it's gonna have.
Yeah, and god damn, the instrumental is just straight fire on this track. like it's just so kick-ass. The bass is driving, the guitars are like kind of washed out a little bit and like kind of playing
There's always, I think, almost 100% of the time, except for a couple instances, the piano and the guitar always have either a reverb or a delay on them.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel kind of, what's the word? Not distant, but
I know what you're getting at. Yeah. It's some.
I have it written down later on. I know I'll see it later, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that." But they're super. It gives them a dreamy vibe. That's the word I was looking for. They give off a really dreamy vibe, and that happens throughout most of this album, and it maintains a really consistent theme, which I really enjoyed. Also, this shows off young little boy Danny's vocals. I think he sounds best since he hasn't matured as much as he has now. If you hear his music nowadays, you can tell his range is really improved.
Yeah.
But he tends to focus more on the higher end of his voice in a lot of these songs, which isn't bad. But I think he sounds best when he holds notes a lot of the times. And one other thing is that throughout a consistent thing throughout this entire album is the lyricism and vocal melodies are not super original sounding.
Yeah, the vocal motifs in the lyrics are
pretty standard.
Yeah, they're fairly standard,
but they get carried really hard by the
instrumentation. The instrumentation is phenomenal, but the vocals are I wouldn't go as far as to say disappointing, but
they're not disappointing. Yeah, Dan still sounds really good. It's just that it's a little bit it's a little uninteresting to listen to.
Yeah,
just because of how standard it is. There are a couple songs where he completely like flips a coin and is doing some really incredible stuff, but especially for at least Hands on the Water, it's pretty standard. But it's catchy because I can still hear it in my head right now.
Yeah, Hands on the Water is pretty good. One thing that seems to be a consistent thing for me is that the vocal mixing actually seems fairly weak.
It is. Yeah. This is their first ever album released.
Yeah, and it definitely sounds.
You can tell it's the first album.
It feels like there's so much more that could have been done in post to make Danny's vocals pop, because he's not a bad vocalist.
No, he's got.
I just feel like a lot of the times on these tracks, the vocals sound fairly flat.
Yep, I think they could have used a little bit more. I mean, when they get to the layering of his vocals sometimes, or the harmonies, they sound fucking incredible. But when they just have him by himself singing, I feel like there needed to be a little bit more bass to the voice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it feels like it's just a single. I mean, obviously, it's just a single guy singing, but you got to add that little bit of structure to it.
Yeah, it really felt like it was just about to fly away on its own and just disappear from the track. And it really is kind of a disservice, I would say. Track 2 is Different Frequencies. This is again the trend from the first track is the instrumental is again very good.
Dude, that has a pretty insane Moog bass in this.
Yes.
In this song, I love Moog basses. By the way, they're so fucking jamming. They're so groovy, I should say.
Yeah, very groovy. I actually do like some of the lyrics on this track. I like the idea of different frequencies as it's kind of music related.
Oh wow, yeah.
Frequencies are music related.
I like how the repetitive chorus in this song. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Don't like repetitive vocals in songs, but they do it really well with this because every single time they repeat it, there's a new vocal harmony being laid over it, which makes it interesting to listen to. So I'm totally okay with that happening. As long as you do something with your repetitive vocals, I don't care. So Dan does a really good job of layering his vocals on that. And the difference between the distorted guitar that plays and then the clean delay guitar really, really shines. This dude, Peter, does a really good job with that. My biggest issue with this song and a lot of songs is they use a violin / pad that the kind of plays throughout a lot of it, and it's such a stock sound font that I could go and grab it right now if I wanted. That's kind of the issue if you don't have an actual violin. Is that when you hear a sound font violin, you know it's a sound font violin, and it kind of sticks out. And that happens in almost every single song.
Yeah. I do commend the attempted use of strings, but like if you don't have live instrumentation, sometimes it's just better to leave it out.
There are a couple songs where it works really
Yeah.
well, but most of the time you hear it and you're just like, that's not a real violin.
Yeah.
You tried, but you kind of can't help it, especially when you're poor musicians in fucking New York or whatever the hell they were. Moving on though, track 3, Black and White.
So the opening to this song for some reason just reminds me of U2.
Huh.
Like when I was first listening to it, I'm like, is
that a U2
is song? This like,
is this Bono?
Is this a demo of New Year's Day or something? Like, what's going on here? And then Danny's vocals come in, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I know where I am. That's what happens when you listen to the album. Will sleep deprived people. Don't do that. It's bad for you. But yeah, I'm going to stand by that U2 point though, because it does sound somewhat similar in style to New Year's Day.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing either. It's a good sound. I like U2, so I like that kind of sound. Once again, lyricism is kind of generic, but something that I fucking every time I listen to the song, I just lose my shit is at the end of the second chorus, there's the double vocal line where he goes, to waste your time, yeah, I'm pouring color on your black and white disguise. I fucking jammed to that shit.
I wonder how many times you clip the audio.
I hope at least 4.
But yeah, I find the lyrics to be pretty bland, but the vocal production on this track seemed a lot more satisfying to me.
Dan does a really good job here.
And it really actually felt like they used Dan's vocals properly in the mix this time, which is something I will gladly point out when I notice it. But I feel like the lyrics are again fairly...
Yeah, they're pretty lackluster.
They're fairly lackluster, fairly cliched.
As a lot of them are. Other than that, the break after the second chorus, which is what I just fucking went off into, is has a super cool like synth melody that's like sounds really cool. I like that. I like mixing like super electronic sounds with like real instruments. I think that's always a cool sound.
Yeah, I would agree. That's decent.
Decent, he says.
Yeah, I said decent. You want to fight me?
No.
That's right.
I'll fight you over our opinions on track number 4, Afterglow.
I like this song.
Me too.
Okay, well,
Why do you like this song?
I'm going to have to change my stance, and I don't like this song.
Neither do I.
Wait, what? Okay, so this just reminded me of like if Billy Joel did something more ambient, like 80s Billy Joel did something like, yeah, let's make it a little spacier, you know?
Yeah, let's make it dreamy. Dan, once again, they layer his vocals on this, and whenever they do that,
yeah,
they just
the vocal layering
incredible.
Does sound much more satisfying than the standard vocals. And I don't really have much on this song other than that I like it.
It's a fairly short song.
Yeah, it's fairly short, and it's just kind of pleasant.
Yeah, I like the ending, especially the lyrics. I actually like the lyrics.
Yeah, the lyrics on this one are pretty good.
This is one of the few that it doesn't feel like just a super generic whatever song. Especially about the fucking ending's like chasing a shadow, but you only grab the afterglow, and it's like, oh, they said the title. They said the title of this song.
They use the song title in the song. That doesn't ever happen, guys. It doesn't happen.
I've never seen it hapen once. Not especially on the past 4 songs where it's happened every single time.
It wouldn't happen, and it wouldn't happen on track 5 either.
Oh no, definitely not. Track 5, only one, where you hear the words. Only one.
So these are probably my least favorite lyrics on the album.
Oh yeah, I have chorus vocals are super repetitive, kind of endearing, but only because the layered vocaling helps it a bit. It pushes it.
I really think that the instrumental on this track is strong, and I also like some of the vocal echoing that they use. I think that's pretty cool, but the lyrics are just so repetitive. They're so repetitive and so cliched. Like, yeah, you're the only one. Like, Dude,
A lot of these songs kind of
everybody's
have to
written a
do with
song
that.
like that. Like,
I mean, I do have one lyric line written down that I did enjoy just because I just like the thought of it, and it's the "I can't pretend it's not the end, lovers then friends, strangers again." I kind of liked that.
yeah,
It's super cliche.
It is
but
super cliche.
It's a
but
good way to put it.
Yeah, it's a very pleasant way to spin that cliche. I would
It's
say.
a pleasant way to say you're fucking alone again.
It's a pleasant way to say that was a decent one night stand.
And now
Now
you're lonely and you have an STD.
Yeah, AIDS is a serious problem. Okay. Track number 6 is Glass Doors, and I will read to you now everything that I have written down on this page for Glass Doors. Very spacey, chill, ambient pop rock. Nothing much else to report.
I have some things to report, though.
Well, I'm glad you do, because to me this track really didn't feel necessary to the track list and just was kind of there. I mean, it was pleasant to listen to me, but I feel like it didn't really add much.
Really? Because I have almost an entirely different view on that, because I love Glass Doors. It is not my favorite, but one of my favorites. I love the intro piano. The piano throughout the whole song is actually super good. But this is the first song where Dan really shows some technical work in his voice. He actually does like little trills and like uhs and like fucking changes notes like mid song and goes back. He does some good technical work. And then also after the second chorus, the piano progression completely changes, and it made me nut because it sounded so pretty. I loved the way the piano went throughout this whole song, even if it was the same piano you've been hearing for the past 5 songs. I just liked how it sounded. I liked the progression. I liked Danny's vocals, and I think it was a good addition to the track list. I don't care what you have to say, because you're worthless to me now that we have varying opinions on a song.
Excellent. Now I can fight you. Track 7 is The City As You Walk. I really enjoy this track. The instrumental is probably the most low key on the album thus far.
Yeah, I think so.
It's very laid back, and
there's not really a full structure to the song either with the vocals or the instrumentation. It kind of just is one continuous thing. There's no verse, chorus, bridge, verse.
Which is something that I particularly enjoy. I kind of like free song structures like that, and I feel like this is one of the stronger performances vocally on the track. Well, on the album as well.
Yeah, there's a key change right at the end of the first bridge or I said there wasn't really a bridge, but it's technically the bridge because it was in between the first starting stanza and the second and the third one.
Yeah.
He does a key change right at the end of it, and it kind of continues through the rest of the song, and I really liked how that sounded.
Yeah, and I like the lyrics on this track as well, just kind of alluding to, oh yeah, as you're walking through the city, the lights are like going out, which would imply that it's really, really early in the morning that you're walking because all city lights are on a timer.
Implies that the city's running out of power and it can't pay its electricity bill.
Oh, well, I've completely misinterpreted this song.
Yeah, no, Dan told me personally.
I don't like it anymore.
Dan told me personally about that one. The drums in this track are actually super good.
Oh yeah,
you don't really say much about the drums in most of these songs, but this one it kind of stood out. But they did also use that stock violin again, and it's one of the tracks where you can tell it's a stock violin. It kind of hurts a little bit because it's a really good song. A lot of these songs are super good, but there's like that one part that kind of hits you where you're like, oh, that could have been different. But you do what you can when there are storms of September.
That was
track 8.
That was an attempt at a transition.
It was not. I was gonna say storms in September, but my handwriting is bad.
Yeah, looks like you fucked it up, eh, big boy?
I did.
So I really like the acoustic guitar in the intro.
Oh yeah, this is a mainly instrumental track. There's only vocals towards the end.
And on those vocals, I think where the vocals are mixed in this track, it's like kind of below the guitars a little bit, kind of in the middle of the track listing. Just, I feel like that perfectly fits the vibe of the song and most of the album. And I really, really wish the rest of the album had the vocals mixed like this. They're like they're not at the top of the mix. They're like just one or two layers below, and they sound a little bit washed out and a little bit fuzzy and like in the background, kind of dreamy, as you had said about
this whole album is really dreamy.
And I feel like that sort of dreamy effect on the vocals is really what this album has been wanting. And as such, this is my favorite track on the album. As it feels like this is what the rest of the album should have been.
The whole song has a really good progressive build up, and it keeps leading you on a bit more. The piano's super solid in the mixing between like the strong piano that's like playing the chords and the delayed like plucky piano that's playing just singular notes. And then Danny's vocals come in and it's just that nice little bow on top. You're like, ooh, thank you. And then there's an electric guitar too towards the end that actually just starts going ham. And I don't know what prompted that, but that dude was like, my time to shine. He's like,
going hard in the mix.
And you know what else goes hard in the mix?
Don't.
Track number 9, Black and White, Reprise. I really like this song.
Well, I'm glad you do, because I don't. At least
Tell me why.
Somebody does. Well, I didn't like the original Black and White. Didn't exactly pop out to me that much. I mean, there were a couple moments, and I was like, okay, well, the vocal production is certainly better on this track. But like, it didn't feel like it was an important enough track that it needed to have a reprise then. And I typically don't like reprises to begin with, because it's like, okay, you've already explored this musical idea. What are you going to do to it? Slow it down, like in this track. Cut the instrumentation a little bit, like in this track. It just didn't feel like it needed to be here. Like it didn't feel like it added anything to the album as a whole, and was just kind of like, yes, I'm here as a reminder that you're listening to an album that had the song Black and White on it. You can thank me later. Like, I don't know. It just...
You know, I can agree with the fact that it probably doesn't need to be in the full track listing. If anything, there could have been a different song here, and it could have been an extra bonus track, like given out with a CD or something.
You know what? Even better. It could have just been strapped onto the end of Black and White.
True.
And that would have made sense, and it probably would have increased my enjoyment of the original Black and White, because it's like, oh, wow, they really did an instrumental and tempo shift here. That's really interesting. And instead, it just kind of feels really flat to me.
The reason I like this song is because this is probably one of my favorite styles of music, is the laid back, low instrumental, really like heavy vocal work kind of song. And
lo-fi chill hip hop beats to relax to?
Don't forget, I study to them too. I love the layering in this song. I think is what really drives it for me. The second chorus in the reprise, oh my god, the harmonies actually made me nut. Like I had to get a clean change of undies. You know what I'm saying? Like Jenny's voice just fucking took off with some of the harmonies, and it sounds so beautiful. And I think that's why I don't really mind the fact that it's in there, just because of how good the backing synth / piano works so well with Danny's just fucking gorgeous God tier voice. God, I love that, man. But yeah, I can see why the song shouldn't. I agree that I think putting it at the end of the original Black and White probably would have made it even better. But I don't mind it being here, just because I enjoy it. Because fuck you and fuck your opinions.
All right. Well, are you going to say fuck my opinions to Run with the Hunted?
Is it your favorite track on the album?
No, my favorite track on the album was already
the
Storms of September, although I do quite like this track.
Run with the Hunted is my favorite track on the album. This is my favorite song.
So one thing that I can really say about this track is that fucking guitar! It pops off, dude! Like, it just sounds so good. Like, it's super washed out, super dreamy, and it just fucking, it's great. It's great. It reflects how the album vibed to me the whole time. It was just kind of like washed out and spacey and ambient guitar, really echoey, kind of a little bit of reverb on there. And I'm like, ooh, that's some nice little spice on there.
That's some good spice.
That's a little spice that I like on there. Spice of life right on there. And I also like the lyrics and vocal performance. I think the vocal performance on this track is actually quite good.
I think this is one of Danny's best in the whole album.
I would say it is his best on the album. As on track 8, it's really just the way the production is done. Too. Yeah, and really it's the production on that track. It's not so much the actual performance. Whereas the vocal performance on this, real good. The lyrics,
solid,
real good.
Yeah.
And it's a really good closer track to me because it really kind of wraps up everything that you've experienced throughout the album and delivers it to you on a very nice little plate. Like, yes, this is what you just listened to. I hope you like it.
Yeah, the entire intro too, I actually written down that I really enjoyed. The reverse synths mixed with like a violin and piano that come in, and then it just kind of stops, and it's just kind of going. Then the bass comes in, and you're like, oh shit, and then the drums come in, and you're like, oh fuck, and then Danny's vocals come in, and you're like, holy shit! It really fucking mixes itself together really well, and beyond that, the chorus I think is just really fun to sing. I don't know why. I sing these songs in my car all the time just because they're not technically challenging. They're really easy for most people to just pick up and sing along with, which I guess isn't a bad thing. I kind of like them to be a little bit more challenging, but being able to just fucking jam out in my car to fucking Run with the Hunted ain't a bad thing.
Yeah, and, I would agree with that.
I really like how the lines, the one line to anyone you could follow, it's like the breakdown interlude towards the end. The to anyone you could follow, something made of sand. I forgot the lyrics. That whole thing's so good. And the only thing I'm not too fond of in this song is the ending with I hate na 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 na. Like, put real lyrics in, please.
You could have done it, Danny. I've seen 6969. I know you can write lyrics.
More like not any lyrics at the end of this song.
Whoa, savage.
Overall, I'm really partial to this album, but I see where it has flaws. I think it at least a 7.5 out of 10. Can hit 8 at sometimes if you're driving alone at night and you're like in a city and like fucking you're driving through the city and it's kind of dark out, or it's like turning maybe even to dawn, like this fucking album is the time to listen to that. But if it's just like something you're listening to by yourself with a friend, it's probably like a 7 to 7.5. It's really depending on the situation, I think. Danny's vocals are incredible, but not yet to where they can be. We've heard him recently. I've heard him recently. He's fucking changed so much since 2007. The stock and standard instruments pretty much the same synths throughout the entire album. Nice, but could have been used better, or more variation could have been used. And the standard lyricism and vocal melodies are kind of lackluster. That's what I have to say.
I would say that first of all, I gave this album a 6 out of 10. As it feels like a debut, which is never something you want to say about a debut album, or any album for that matter. You want to sound like you've been kicking ass for years and years and years. And most of that comes down to the mixing. So I found most of these songs fairly enjoyable, but they were for the most part very much okay. They happened. Like there wasn't a whole lot of spots, like for example on the end track with that guitar that just really popped out. There weren't so many moments like that where it just really popped out to me and we were like, okay, yeah, that's really smart about how they did that. The instrumentals mostly carried this album, and to me that seems like a bit of an injustice, seeing as that for Dan, you can see his vocals are significantly better nowadays, like on any of NSP's material, or like especially like the Under the Covers album.
Oh my god!
Like,
well,
his vocal work is
get to review that one day. Oh my god!
His vocal work is clearly better than this, and the production and mixing on this album just really let it down, and that just feels wrong to me. It just feels like a complete misuse. In a vacuum, this is probably, if this is something that you really like this is a genre of music that you really like, and you don't have a knowledge of what Dan can do, this is probably a better album. But for me, seeing as how, I've been listening to NSP for quite some time, this just feels like a major letdown to me. Although I do like the fact that it's actually serious music. Like,
yeah, I actually, we didn't even bring that up.
Yeah.
This is entirely a serious album. There is no dick jokes or boobies. It's all like pretty. I mean, all the songs are kind of about the same thing.
Yeah,
it's about a girl or
they're fairly cliched, but they're at least executed in a manner like, yeah, I'm being serious about this. I'm singing about this from my heart. I'm passionate about that, which is something that I can really credit this for. Like for me, most NSP albums, like I can't rate above like a 7.5 because as much as I love Danny's vocals and stuff, at the end of the day, it's a comedy album, and like it's the same thing with like Weird Al. Like, I love Weird Al. Weird Al is a fucking legend, but I'm not going to rate any of his albums super high, as most of the times it's just a really, really clever way of delivering a joke.
Yeah.
And, like, I can laugh all I want, but I come to music to make me feel certain emotions and stuff like that. And while this album attempts to do that, I feel like due to the mixing on the vocals and stuff like that, it really just falls short. So I would say it's definitely worth a listen, and really, really worth a listen if you're a fan of Dance Already, or if you're a fan of Game Grumps or something like that.
I definitely I agree with that. Also, I think it was two years ago, Dan actually got back together with
it's 3 years now. It's 2015.
Oh, it was 2015.
Yeah,
he got back together with Peter, and they released one song called Fireflies, I think.
Yeah, which it was pretty good.
It was decent, but it was really nice to hear Dan do something serious again.
Yes,
I would agree with that. To hear him do more like this Under the Covers stuff.
Yeah, that's another point that we can make about the Under the Covers album, is that it's serious music, and it really shows how he's grown as a vocalist from the time of this album.
This is a good comparison.
Yeah, it's a good parallel to make.
Go listen to this album and then go listen to Under the Covers Volume 2. It is like night and day, and you'll really appreciate what 11 years of work can do. And it also means don't give up on your dreams. And I'm gonna finish this off with a quote I saw on a YouTube video, or of the YouTube video I was listening to of this, and by some random YouTube person that said, Dan's voice simultaneously gives me the chills and the honey nut felios.
I also saw that comment, to be honest.
Glad.
And I was like, you know what? I want to use the phrase honey nut felios. I don't know where I'm going to use it.
I wanted to use it on the podcast.
See, that's a smart play there.
I also want to bring up the fact that this is the first time we've had such varying opinions on the albums that we've brought out.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're within like a 1 number rating, but this time we're got some differentiating shit going on. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do this anymore if we don't have the exact same opinion on all the music we listen to.
Yeah. I could never be in a podcast with a detractor.
Thanks. Anyway, now that it's the end of the album, we're going to be recommending our albums for next week. What do you got for me, buddy?
Ex-Military by Death Grips.
I've never listened to a Death Grips album, so
I'm going to force you to listen to Ex-Military.
I'm listening to a Death Grips album.
It's actually their demo mixtape, technically, but it's also, in my opinion, their best album. So,
Ex-Military
by Death Grips. You can also get it for free on thirdworlds.net, which is their website.
That's incredible. Thank you for that wonderful tip and trick.
That's a plug for Death Grips. Please sponsor me. I love you. I love you, MC Ride.
Me too, even though I've never listened to any of your music. And my album recommendation for you this week is Outrun by Kavinsky.
How do I spell that?
Kavinsky, I believe. It is, if you've ever heard of the man Carpenter Brute.
Oh, I love Carpenter.
It's very similar music to that 80s grunge electronic jams.
Oh, so what you're telling me is I can already give this album at least an 8 out of 10.
That's up to you. I personally enjoy the album, so I hope you will too. I'm guessing you personally enjoy the Death Grips album, seeing as it's your favorite work by them.
It's I can't give any spoiler. I can't do spoilers.
All
I
right.
already know what I'm gonna rate it, but I can't do spoilers. So
All right, sounds good.
it's a 0. I'm giving it a 0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. Death Grips
Worst
is
Death
bad.
Grips album
It's
ever.
awful. Don't listen to Death Grips. Please sponsor me, Death Grips. I'll change my opinion.
Pay me money and I'll tell you you're good. And with that, make sure to give us a like, a follow, a comment, a subscribe on all of my social media.
All of them.
You can-
Also, I'm actually active on Twitter now, so like, hey, that's pretty
He
cool.
retweeted something the other day and I physically cried. I went
Yeah,
to my mother and I begged her to give me money to support his Patreon.
We don't have a
We
Patreon.
don't have a Patreon. No, I am at the real Hisuya, HIISUYA on Twitter.
I'm at Crescent Kami, and that is KAMI.
That's a Japanese word.
Yeah, it's like a Japanese spirit / monster / ghost boy.
Kami's the word for God.
Whatever.
So yeah, follow us there. Follow us on anywhere you want to. I won't beg you, but I will
Beg
physically
you. He will beg
get
you.
on my knees for you.
He'll suck your wee wee. Just follow us, okay?
You'll enjoy.
It'd be litty as a titty if you did. No, Mom.